Dave Toub revealed today that he will be pounding the table for a specific wide receiver that is going to leave you very excited. Steve Spagnuolo and Andy Reid in back-to-back days have made some comments regarding the cornerback 2 job. This had reporters asking if Brett Veach plans on looking to the remaining free agent options to fill a roster spot. The Bears and Chiefs have both announced that starters won't take any snaps tomorrow night, as we've all suspected. But what should we be watching for in this final preseason game? We're all chiefed up, and we're back with another podcast for that ass. Let's talk about it.
You're listening to All Chiefed Up.
We're a week away from final cuts around the NFL, and some assistant coaches will be working to try to ensure the players that they like make it onto the 53-man roster. Chief Special Teams Coordinator Dave Toub took to the mic today and shared one of the names that he'll be putting into the ear of Brett Veach and Andy Reid. Let's take a listen.
Nikko did a great job. I'll be pounding the table for that guy. I love him.
Wide receiver Nikko Remigio has had a pair of 31-yard kickoff returns and a 42-yard punt return through the first 2 weeks of the preseason, and Toub let us all know he will be pounding the table for Remigio to make it through cutdown day. Remigio signed with the Chiefs after going undrafted last season and spent the year on injured reserve. He also has 5 catches for 51 yards in the preseason. Toub also mentioned wide receiver Mecole Hardman and 2 running backs, Carson Steele and Deneric Prince, as kick return options for the Chiefs in the regular season. Toub went on to say that he's not at all concerned about James Winchester missing any time in the regular season with his shoulder injury. The team signed former K-State long snapper Randon Plattner on Monday.
No concern that he won't be ready. I mean, he actually, he's a tough guy. He got it shot up at halftime and then came in. So, I mean, it was pretty, came back in the game. So, if we had a real game right now, he would do the same thing. We like this guy that we brought in from K-State and, get a good look at him.
The Chiefs are yet again dealing with another injury in the DB room. Third-year corner Josh Williams did not participate in practice on Tuesday due to a hamstring injury. Williams was unlikely to play in the final game of the preseason as he's tracking to be a starter. However, the new injury now casts at least some level of concern over his Week 1 status. Andy Reid was asked on Monday about the corner room and how he thinks they're doing, and he mentions it may have to get done by committee.
Well, we've got some guys that can play. We need to see Jalen get out there, and if he can play, then play, and then see where he's at. Some of those other guys have grown and shown some good stuff. We'll just see. We'll see how it goes. Might be a committee over there, but it's there is some talent there. Yeah.
Jalen Watson, Najee Johnson, and Josh Williams, the 3 guys who are the likeliest to slot in as starters opposite of Trent McDuffie, have each dealt with injuries during training camp. Watson is working his way back from a torn labrum. Johnson is working his way back from a torn ACL and dealt with a hamstring injury during camp. And now Josh Williams is dealing with a hamstring. This led to the most surprising statement of the day when Spags stopped just short of saying the team would add a veteran to the cornerback room.
Well, if you would talk to Coach Reid or Brett, I think they'd tell you they're always looking.
This is the time of the year when you might have an opportunity to add via trade, free agency, or even waivers. Just yesterday, the Chiefs hosted a cornerback, Gregory Jr., who was recently released by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jr. was a player the team showed interest in back in the 2022 NFL Draft. The same year, they actually selected Trent McDuffie, Josh Williams, Jalen Watson, and Najee Johnson in the 7th round. It was also a player we called out back in April to keep an eye on because Brett Veach really liked him.
So with cut day coming soon, there's endless possibilities of how this 53-man roster could shape up. But before we get to it, please hit that like button for us and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 50,000 subscribers before the Super Bowl. Mike, let's start with the first subject we talked about, Nikko Remigio. What do you think about Dave Toub pounding the table to get Nikko Remigio on this roster?
I like it. I think Nikko deserves to be on this squad. In my opinion, he's right there on that 7th wide receiver position, and we keep saying that the Chiefs probably should take 7 wide receivers. It makes total sense. Now, who are you going to have to take off? He did mention Mecole Hardman. He said he's probably going to handle stuff during the regular season. So that leads me to believe that if Justin Watson is a lock at 4, it looks like, as much as people don't like it, Sky Moore has kind of been a lock at number 5, and Mecole Hardman looks to be number 6. So it's going to be Nikko or Justin Ross, Steve. And a lot of Chiefs Kingdom do not want to say goodbye to Justin Ross, me included.
Well, there's another one that you didn't mention, Kadarius Toney. Mike, I've been saying since the beginning of this whole ordeal that don't be surprised if they actually do go 7 receivers and they keep the top 3, Justin Watson, Sky Moore, McCole Hardman, and Kadarius freaking Toney.
Right.
I've been saying that could be the 7 we're looking at because the Chiefs, they're creatures of habit. They like the guys that have been in this offense. They like what's comfortable. Now, the guy that leaves out for me is Nikko Remigio, but it's also Justin Ross, who I feel offers more to the team than Nikko Remigio. Yes, he doesn't have the special teams abilities, but he's more of a weapon on the field as far as pass catching goes. And I think that's what the Chiefs actually need. There's other guys on this roster, like McCole Hardman, that can do some of the returning.
Right. I really like Justin Ross. I think he's got a different body style. He offers something different. We can throw it up. We can use him in the red zone. Imagine pairing him up with Travis Kelce, Jared Wiley, Rashee Rice, and then Justin Ross in the red zone. This should be crazy. But I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it. You said I forgot Kadarius Toney. But guess what? The dude's not even memorable at this point. He can't stay healthy. He can't stay on the field. He's relegated himself all the way down to having to fight for a roster spot with Ian frickin' Book as your quarterback. Good luck making that happen.
Well, let's be honest here, Mike. Who's a better punt returner, Nikko Remigio or Kadarius Toney? Because I would almost argue that Kadarius Toney can do that stuff better than Nikko. He's more of an athlete. He's had more experience doing it. So if they're going by just special teams abilities, Kadarius might not be as far down the depth chart as you think. It's all about the injuries and being consistent for Kadarius Toney. If he could somehow prove his worth as far as consistency goes, I think Andy Reid talked about it a couple weeks ago in a presser. I think he's on the roster too. You got to watch out for it.
Nikko Remigio's been doing this all the way back to high school. He actually done it at Fresno. He done it at Cal. The kid can do it. He's very reliable at doing it. He wants to do it. Let's not forget Sky Moore. Dave Toub said that they wanted to get Sky Moore maybe in the return game. So there's a lot of mouths to feed back there. And we're also forgetting about LRZ.
I will smack you in the mouth if you put Sky Moore in the punt return game.
No, he's a kick return.
Kid's confidence once again. Kick return,
yeah.
I'll do it. Do not put him in punt return. Absolutely freaking not. Do not do it. But Mike, you said Nico's been doing this for a long time. Nico also muffed a punt in a preseason game. And you saw that Chiefs Kingdom all but crucified Sky Moore a couple years ago for muffing punts in regular season games. So we have to bring that same energy there. I think Kadarius Toney could be a pretty reliable punt returner. We've seen it in the past, and we've seen it even flip games like the Super Bowl against the Eagles.
Right. Well, Nikko Remigio muffed one punt. Sky Moore muffed multiple punts, and I think that is where it's starting to get to drawing the line there. I believe if Nikko got the job and muffed 3, 4, 5 punts and Dave Toub refused to move off of them, that's where you're going to have a problem with Chiefs Kingdom.
So moving on to the cornerbacks, man, Steve Spagnuolo says that they're not opposed to going out and signing a veteran cornerback to help out in that room. Mike, what do you think about it?
Well, who's out there? You got Xavien Howard. You've got Adoree Jackson. There's not that many big names out there. We just seen Stephon Gilmore sign with the Vikings for $10 million per year. I'm not paying Xavien Howard $10 million. Definitely not paying Adoree Jackson $10 million. Look, I don't think there's a big enough problem there. CB2 last year was covered by Jalen Watson and Josh Williams. A lot of people said Trent McDuffie was CB2 last year. Well, he only played out wide 31% of the time compared to the other 448 snaps he played in the slot. So that's 300 snaps to 448. He wasn't necessarily considered CB2. He's better in the slot. Chamari Connor took a lot of those last year. Seemingly as a rookie to a second-year guy, he's going to take more in the slot. I think we're going to be completely fine, Steve. To me, this feels like they want to move McDuffie out of the CB1 position a lot and put him back in the nickel a lot, and this is causing them to need 2 corners to play the edges, and they may not be so that both of these guys can do it. However, I think Josh Williams and Jalen Watson are both capable, and Najee Johnson should be healthy this year. He's also capable.
Yeah, you mentioned Trent McDuffie being better at the nickel position, and I think there is something to that. When Trent McDuffie's on the outside, it's really matchup dependent. If he's outsized by a big guy, like a Jamar Chase or someone like that, he tends to struggle a bit. And that's usually the only time you see Trent McDuffie struggling on a football field. Hell, we even saw him have trouble with a guy like A.T. Perry just because he's so much bigger than him. If they put the ball in the right spot, there's not a whole lot he can do with it, even if he's in their hip pocket. So I'm with you. I think they could look outside of the Chiefs locker room to get some help in that cornerback position, but I don't know if there's anyone available that really offers you anything that we don't already have with some of the young guys.
You're right. Trent McDuffie is kind of matchup dependent. A.T. Perry ate his lunch last year in the preseason. I do think he does do better in the nickel. In my opinion, he's the best nickel corner in football. As a cover corner, he's great. Don't get me wrong. But Josh Williams, Jalen Watson have proved last year, along with L'Jarius Sneed, that they could hold down the other side. Why is it such a big deal now that they can't hold down the other side? I think there's more of a cornerback 1 problem, not a cornerback 2 problem. They're just not saying it.
So the Chiefs and Bears face off in the final preseason game tomorrow night. Mike, what's something that you're going to be keeping your eye on right before these final cutdowns?
We just heard today that neither side's going to play their first team. We kind of knew that was coming. Not a big deal. We're probably not going to see a lot of Carson Steele, I wouldn't think, but I kind of think he's on the team. I want to see if LRZ can maybe make a move here and do something. This is his last time to push for the roster. There's a couple guys at the end of the wide receiver room, the corners. I know we've mentioned we want to see Kamal Haddon play a little bit more. Maybe we get to see that. I want to see the end of the linebacker room. It's Cam Jones. He struggled versus Jacksonville. He couldn't tackle anything. But Swayze Bozeman had a good day. Curtis Jacobs had a good day. He was the #1 rated rookie in PFF with like an 81 something. So this dude was flat out playing. I want to see that. And I also want to see somebody along the defensive line step up. Is Truman Jones going to be able to make his way on the roster? Maybe Matt Dickerson continues to shine. That's what I want to see, along with the offensive line also gelling on the second and the third team.
Mike, you sold Curtis Jacobs a little bit short, buddy. He got a 91 PFF grade after that last preseason game. So it's going to be fun to see if he can repeat that performance. But something that I'm going to be looking at is what everybody else is looking at, the wide receiver room. I want to see who they're playing and how much they're playing. I want to see if Kadarius Toney gets more opportunities than he got last week. Cornerback room is going to be interesting now too, knowing that Spags thinks they might go outside of the locker room and sign a veteran. Who really knows? But I'm also going to be watching Kingsley Suamataia. He's been tearing it up so far, and I want to see if he can continue to do so because I think he could be the left tackle we hoped he could be. So this is where we're going to hand it off to you. Make sure to get in the comments and let us know if you think Nikko Remigio is going to make this 53-man roster. Let us know if you think the Chiefs need to go out and sign a veteran cornerback. Also, give us the score predictions for that Bears versus Chiefs preseason game. We want to see who gets close.
Before we go, I just want to take a few seconds to shout out BetUS for sponsoring today's video. If you want live wagering on all major games with the best variety in the business, plus 24/7 personalized service 365 days a year, then BetUS is where you want to be. BetUS can also give you your very own personal account manager. How cool is that? Plus, there's tons of prop bets with Chiefs players, win totals, and much, much more. And right now, they're offering a 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. So come make some bets with us and BetUS today by clicking the link in the description or checking it out in the pinned comment below.
So don't be a slapnut. Go do that. Also, thank you for liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell. And we'll catch you next time.
Go Chiefs.